Hey guys, this is the Forex price action trading course. This is lesson number 5, how to draw effective trend lines. Alright, let's get going. Okay, we'll start off with the lesson overview. First, I'll be explaining the 3 rules to follow in order to draw effective trend lines. And then, I'll go on to the foundational mindset that a trader must have to draw effective trend lines. Okay, so here's the 3 rules. Number 1, take a wick of a candle and attach it to another wick to the right and extend the line into the future. Okay, so we're going to attach a wick of a candle to another wick on the right and extend it out into the future. Okay, here's another example. We're going to take a candle wick and attach it to the wick on the right and extend it out into the future. Okay, let's check out the rest of that paragraph. Okay, and do not use the body for connection points. All right. Okay, these are wicks of a candle, right? And this is the body. We do not want to attach the trend lines to the bodies. Okay, so for example, if a trend line was drawn like this, from this wick to this body, this trend line is not legitimate. Moreover, if a trend line was drawn from this body to this wick, this trend line is not legitimate either. A trend line is only legitimate if it's attached from a wick to another wick, right? Okay, let's keep going. Okay, we'll go on to the second step. The drawn trend line cannot be broken out or surpassed. All right, so first of all, a trend line cannot be broken out. So for example, if we drew a trend line from this wick of a candle to this wick right here, extended it out into the future, this trend line was broken out once right here. Thus, if price falls and comes right back up to this point, this trend line cannot be used as a legitimate resistance because it's been broken out once. Moreover, a trend line cannot be surpassed. So for example, if we drew a trend line from this wick of a candle to this wick of a candle and extended it out into the future, we could see that right here, this candle surpassed this trend line. In other words, this candle opened above this trend line, which consequently means it surpassed this trend line. So, if price comes down again and comes back up in the future, we cannot use this trend line as legitimate resistance because it's been surpassed. Let me show you one more example. So if we took this trend line from this wick of a candle to this wick of a candle and extended it out into the future, we could see that current price surpassed this trend line. Thus, this trend line is not legitimate. So if price gets back above this trend line and comes back down, we cannot use this trend line as support because it's been surpassed. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, step 3. A trend line is legitimate only if there is at least one test on it. Thus, a legitimate trend line must have at least 3 contact points. Okay. So if we take this trend line right here from this wick of a candle to this wick of a candle and extend it out into the future, how many contact points do we have on it? We have 1, 2, 3. So this trend line is legitimate. So the next time price comes up here in the future, we could use this trend line as resistance. Here's another example. So we take this wick of a candle and attach it to a one on the right and extend it out into the future. How many touches do we have on it? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it has at least 3, right? So this trend line is legitimate. So let me show you some examples of trend lines that don't have 3 contact points. We take this wick of a candle, attach it to the one right here on top, and extend it out into the future. This one only has 2 contact points. So this trend line is not legitimate. Thus, if price comes back up here, we cannot use this as resistance. Okay, so let me just wrap this up here. So an example of a legitimate trend line is going to be this wick of a candle to a wick on the right and extend it out into the future. Okay, so this trend line only used the wicks for attachment points. So it cleared number 1. It also clears number 2 because there are no breakouts or surpasses of this trend line. Moreover, it clears number 3 because there's 3 contact points. There's 1, 2, and 3. Thus, the next time price comes up to this level, we could use this trend line as legitimate resistance. Let's do one more example. We'll take this wick of a candle and attach it to a wick on the right and extend it out into the future. Okay, so step number 1 is that you only attach it to the wicks of a candle and not the bodies, and that's cleared. Number 2, this trend line has never been broken out nor surpassed. And number 3, this trend line has 5 contact points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is more than the minimum of 3 contact points. So the next time price comes down here at these levels, we could use this trend line as legitimate support. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, the foundational mindset is the mindset that a trader must have to draw trend lines efficiently. Okay, so the mindset we want to have is that the rules remain static and you do not break the rules to suit personal views of the market. Okay, let me explain this. Alright, let's say we were very short biased this market. So we want a short entry. And furthermore, we want price characteristics that support our short entry. So what a trader may do is draw a trend line that suits his or her personal view of the market. So for example, they might draw this trend line from this wick of a candle to this wick and extend it out to the future. Now, if you look at this trend line has been surpassed already, which means this trend line is not legitimate. However, a trader is prone to break the rules to suit their personal views of the market. So the next time price comes back here, there's a tendency for the trader to use this as a legitimate trend line to enter their short trade. So in essence, they are breaking the rules to suit their personal views of the market. Okay, so just remember, the 3 rules must be static. Okay, so that was it for that lesson. In the next lesson, we're going to go over how to use trend lines for clarity. Okay, what I mean by clarity is that, let me zoom out right here. Now this is a Euro USD monthly chart from 2002 all the way to the current 2021. Now if you look at this chart without any trend lines, well, it just looks like price went up, ranged, came down, and it's kind of going up again. Now that doesn't tell us anything about this currency pair in terms of price. But by using trend lines, we could figure out the story of a currency pair. So what this currency pair did from 2001 to 2014 and what it's been doing from 2014 to the current. So it tells us the story of a currency pair. Okay, so in the next lesson, we'll get into how to do that. So that was it for this lesson. Again, if you have any questions, please leave it in the comments section. And thanks for watching, guys. Bye.